So, dear students, we are going to study The Fairy Queen by Edmund Spenser. Here in this lecture, we'll study about the background of this poem. It's one of the famous and very important poem, and at the same time, we'll talk about Edmund Spenser too. So, we'll talk about his personal and political life. We'll see that in 1552 or 53, exactly, it's not yet known. He was born in London, and in 1573 he received his graduation from Cambridge, and in 1576 received MA from Cambridge, and 1576 to 78 visited relatives in the north and met his Rosaline. In 1578 checked for Lord Leicester, and 1580 appointed secretary to Lord Grey, Lord Deputy of Ireland. 1588 appointed clerk of Irish Court of Chancery, and 1568 presented with Kilcommon Castle and Estate, and 1588 appointed clerk to the Council of Monsfer. So this is basically he has been enjoying very important seats as politically dominant, and very important positions he held throughout his life there. And again, 1590 visited London, accompanied by Sir Walter Raleigh, and 1591 returned to Ireland. 1594 married Elizabeth Boyle, and 1595 visited London again. 96, 1598 appointed Sheriff of Clogg. Sheriff is a sort of very administrative post, just linked as we can have in our police department. And we can say that Kilcolman Castle burned by rebels of Tyrone Rebellion and fled back to London. 1590 to 99 died in London, buried in Westminster Abbey, where we can see most of the important poets are buried in England. So this is a sketch. This is the biography. This is how he spent his life at different key positions, and at certain places his life became tumultuous too, having some sort of we can say setbacks, but he led very successful and good life. So, literary life, if we can see, that was his biography. And in literature, definitely he wrote a lot, extensively. He wrote there, published a lot. So he published translations of Petrarch and Ballet, and 1570 the Shepherd's Calendar, and books 1599. Book one, second, third of the Fairy Queen that we people are going to study here, and it has cantos, and it's very long, and ideal sort of, you can say, English knighthood has been presented there, and he received a pension of £50 from Queen Elizabeth. So 1591 complaints containing sundry and small poems of the words Venaifi, and 1599 Emerald and certain other poems he wrote there one, and then book 4, 5th, 6th, The Fairy Queen, A View of Its. So Ireland circulated in manuscript, not officially published until 1663. So he has been appointed and served a lot in Ireland. This is a view. In order to understand London, England, we have to keep in mind that Ireland and London or both have been very important places so far as literature is concerned. Many Irish people later, though they took London as their center one, because Irish or Ireland was secondary, but a lot of people while living there in Ireland wrote a lot there. So we can see some political, after checking some literary, Tyrone rebellion is there. So it has been 9 years war, and O'Connell, we can see Earl of Tyrone uh, we can also felt Catholics should be free to practice their religion. Critics said his motives were based on power, not religion. But it has been seen throughout the world that religion has been used by politicians in order to gain their power, and same can be used over there one to for the rights of Catholics. But in reality, he was trying to get his own power and authority. So his victories in battle inspired the monsters uprising. So battle of the Yellow Ford started there. Then there was a truce finally declared, peace was declared, and ceasefire was there. O'Neill, exiled to Rome, died around 1666. But this war has a lot of relationship because in Fairy Queen, if we can see, English knighthood is glorified there, is targeted there, is given some more specific importance and significance. So that's why wars are also linked over there. So if we can see a view of the present state of Ireland, especially 1596 to 1633, so we can find there a lot of problems there that was considered a savage nation. Nothing will bring them from their uncivil life sooner than learning and we can say discipline. So this is basically learnings and discipline. It's a language of that time, so it's discipline what we can call it. Perceives the foulness of their own brutish behavior. So it's how they were called. They were considered uncivilized, ill-disciplined, ill-educated, uncivilized, savages, lesser than the English. So, being always restrained by sharp penalties, this is how the English you people are seeing there one, it's English of that time. So, how they were restrained, they were not given option later, as we can see the other ones. The influence of the savage Irish corrupts the Englishman more used to order and discipline ones. So, England, especially, they were not in unison. They were not united. They were facing. They were fighting with each other all the times. So this is like Spencer was supposed to settle a sound and perfect rule of government by shunning the former evils and following the we can say offered good. So I will then, according to your advisement, begin to declare the evils which seem to be most hurtful to me, common will of that land. So you can see its spelling will be different one, just like in Fairy Queen, the Queen there. I said this is old English. In English was it's not as much modern as we can see there, but it's written in that style too, that how people were feeling living there and what sort of problem were they were facing. The first in the laws, and the second in customs, and last in religion, what he says. So the common laws being not that which William of Normandy brought in with the conquest and laid upon the neck of England, though it perhaps fitted well with the state of England then being, and was readily obeyed through the power of the commander which had before subdued the people to him. Yet with the state of Ireland um, and there was adventure, it doth not so well agree, being a people altogether stubborn and unfamed. So as I have told you that Ireland at that time was considered a tumultuous territory where there all the time there was some sort of fight and people were considered uncivilized, and English people tried to dominate them. So it's the same in continent. So far, the English were at first at stout and war like a people, as ever were the Irish, and yet ye see are now brought to that civility that no concern in the world. So the king, the queen is basically considered the South Londoner is considered for them a model for following. So at the same time, the same sort of things have been written. There were the what sort of things are there. This part actually, what I said over here, it's going to create a background for the fairy queen, and we can see characters. Arthur is a central hero, searching for fairy queen after she appeared to him in a vision, and she's Christian, noble, virtuous, and you can see from the picture too. And this is basically Queen Elizabeth, and she has been glorified. She has been what we can say that this poem was written in favor of her, in favor of English people, for their integrity, for their honesty, for their bravery, for their chivalry. So they have been glorified. They have been presented as positive pictures over there. One. And so we can see King Arthur is fierce but noble warrior, protector of Britain against evil, represents magnificence, perfection of all virtues, perfect chivalry, masculinity is there. So King Arthur is again, it's a symbolic one. It's just representing English culture and knighthood, and what sort of people they should be. So they have been idealized. They have been very beautifully. If you read, we will read later that text, and we will see that how beautifully they defend, they fight, they kill their opponents, they kill their enemies there. Gloriana, the fairy queen, represents Elizabeth I. This is the Queen One. As I have told you, it's basically written in her. It's a sort of a qasida, in other words, to praise, to pay tribute, praised for her virtue and splendor. Never appears in the poem. Her castle is the goal of Arthur and other knights. So knighthood is basically the main concept there. One virtue, English power, English virtue, that has been popularized, that has been given. So he has Edmund Spenser is basically quoting quote put. We have also studied there that for him there was some stipend fixed, and he used to get it from the king. So she is the Virgin Queen, Protestant defender of England against Spanish and Italian Catholic threats. So this is what Edmund Spenser is going to present there. Red Crosses, and Red Crosses is the hero of Book One, represents the virtue of holiness, must confront Catholic event. Is Red Cross future wife, represents truth, which Red Cross must find. And Red Cross as a Christ, nearly driven mad by forces of sin and evil. Christ ordeals in the desert, reborn after bathing in a fountain. Jesus' baptism by John, engages in 3-day battle with the dragon, and death and resurrection is there. Resurrection is there. So this is basically all glorification, importance given to people who are following Christianity, especially those who were Protestant one, and they stood against Catholics one. They have been given more importance, and all qualities, positive qualities, have been given to English knighthood. So Diusa is another character in this poem, represents falsehood. Mary, Queen of Scots, personifies the Roman Catholic Church. So, Roman Catholic Church, as I have given you the political problem in that country, which was there. So, personifies the Roman Catholic Church, corrupts Protestants with false promises of glory, and tries to tempt Red Cross from So again, it's a negative one. It's imagery, it's allegory, symbolic importance. That all is negative one. Mary, Queen of Scots, retained her Catholicism, persecuted Protestants, eventually defeated by Protestant Elizabeth, as Dusa defeated by So King James IV claimed Spencer's standard, slandered his mother in Fairy Queen. So again, a political rift can be seen there one between two countries. And Archimago is a sorcerer. Sorcerer is actually black magic that can chant certain things and can turn people into different forms and shapes. Antar mantar, abracadabra type of persons is there. So capable of transfiguring himself and others. So can change different shapes into in one forms to another form. Tries to tempt virtuous characters into sin. So it's a sort of punishment. So in this, we can see two forces are there: evil forces and virtuous forces. Vice and virtue fight is there. Britomart, a fierce female warrior, pure and virginal. The virtue of chastity is there. Chastity and charity, we can see two important themes are there. Representation of several of Elizabeth I's qualities, that she was an embodiment of chastity, a chaste character, noble, pious. So Britomart is going to represent here. Saturn is a half, we can say, a human and half, what can say, animal type of character in Greek mythology too. So he is basically nature's knight, noble, gentle, and he's called half man and half satyr. Satyr in coin features such as a horse tail, ears, legs, or phallus like that one. So he has having mixed qualities, certain human beings and certain others one. Ococulio, associate of Deusa is there. Italian for pride. This word stands for pride. Represents Vatican, the Catholic Church hierarchy over there. One, their hierarchy is there. The one is there, and the second person is helping like that one. So allegory means references one. It stands. This is totally allegorical. It stands for political symbolism is there. It stands for Ireland. It stands for we can say queen. It has all sort of symbolism is there. References are there. So a political reference. So Christian Protestant virtue being challenged by dangerous duplicitous forces, and the importance of chastity and purity when challenged by lust. Red Cross is there. Intertwining of religion and politics in Ireland, it stands for this. So we can see its structure. It's basically epic, long narrative poem. Fights are there, heavy targets are there, great heroes are there, great sort of wars are there. So it's romantic epic. So romantic epic in its way that one ideal sort of characters are there. So religious and historical allegories there. We will talk later after text in detail what sort of allegorical elements are there. Spencer completed six books out of 12 he intended. Each book coincides with a specific virtue. Book 1 is holiness, temperance, chastity, friendship, loyalty, justice, so courtesy, chivalry. So these things have been represented one by one over there. So he intended, he thought right 12, but he completed only 6 1. So Alexandrine hexameter, that is its style one, 10 syllables and 6 metrical feet. Feet is combination of foot where 2 syllables are there, one is stressed and other is unstressed. If 5 feet are there, every foot consists of 2 syllables, so it means 10 syllables. So that's why we call it hexa. Hexa stands for 6, penta stands for 5. So it's hexameter is there. Alexandrine hexameter has been used there one. And standard structure for Greek and Latin epics, Homer's Iliads, and Metamorphoses, Ovid's. So same structure has been used here, and he has copied it, Alexandrine hexameter as its style. So there is an example of this Alexander. We will study text. Lo, the man whose muse William did mask. So this is, if you can count, you can find hexameters over there one. So thank you for watching.